So you've got the voice from the outside, you've got the toxic narratives, then you've got the inner critic. Now, we've been told to silence the inner critic. We've been told that the inner critic is bad. The inner critic doesn't have our back. But here's what I believe we need to do with the inner critic is we need to redefine it. We need to parse out that voice of the toxic narrative. That's different. That's a voice, by the way, that's always going to be there. It's the voice of defeat. It's the voice of doubt. Every human has to face it. You just get more fluent in responding to it and responding to it more quickly and responding to it with severity and immediacy so that you can shut it up. That's the voice that you shut up, is a toxic narrative. No, it's not a waste of my education. And here's why, right? No, I'm not unintelligent. And here's why. No, I am not these things. No, I am not a waste. No, it is not too late. And here's why. This is where the inner critic comes in. I promise I'm getting to the what ifs, you guys. The inner critic. What do you know of the critic? What do you know of the word critic? When you think of somebody who's a critic, you think of maybe like a food critic. I have this food theme going on because I watched Chopped this morning. A food critic is somebody who goes in, and we might think whatever we think of food critics, right? They go into the restaurant and they taste the menu. They evaluate the skills, the presentation, the creativity, the taste. They evaluate all of these things on its merit, right? It is an independent evaluation of effort and execution. It is not a critique of the person. I want you to see this is where the difference is really critical for you to understand. The toxic narrative is permanent and pervasive. It's unsolvable, it's pervasive, and it's an attack on your identity, on your very character, on your value as a person. This is how you know the difference. The toxic narrative says there is something bad or wrong or fallible or flawed about you that is unfixable. Let me just save you the trouble. All of that, everything that is permanent and pervasive is a lie, because then that means you believe that you don't have the power to change and nobody else has the power to change, and we are all damned. So that's a toxic narrative. It's permanent and pervasive. The inner critic, the critic who evaluates something on its merits, something on its efforts, something on its strategies, that is temporary and specific. Why? Because it's changeable. It's mutable. If somebody says, let's say that I'm recently doing this app called Fit 52, and so it gives you these cards where you can do different exercises, and it flips, and every time you flip a new card, it gives you a new exercise, and you don't know what's coming. I'm learning this, right? Over the years, as I have had personal trainers in the past, I don't know, but over the years, I've learned to correct my form to get the most out of the exercise, right? So when a personal trainer has said to me, no, you don't want to hold your arms out here when you're doing your push-up. You want to hold your elbows closer to your ribs so that you're really getting the full effect of the exercise, right? That's not an attack on my character. It's not permanent and pervasive. It's specific and temporary. It is something that I can address. It is something that I can execute, that I can do differently. It's a strategy. That is the voice of the inner critic. Your inner critic wants you to attain that terrifying longing that you have. Your toxic narratives don't. They want you to fail. Here's what I want you to picture in your head. Let me take a sip of water. What I want you to picture in your head is you're standing on the top of a building, and you have to get from this building to the other building. And the only way to do that is through a rope. I know it's terrifying longing, right? So the only way you can get to the other side is on this rope. I want you to picture this. The toxic narratives are the winds that are going to come across, right? When you know you're going to be on there and there's going to be wind gusts that come across. They're the they're the bottom of your shoes that's going to get like a piece of gum on it or whatever, and you're afraid you're going to get, slip and fall. Those are the toxic narratives. The toxic narratives want you to fall from your heights and tell you that too bad, you're never going to get up, you're never going to do it again, you might as well give up. This is your lot in life. This is as good as it gets. This is what you're worth. That's what the toxic narratives want to do. But your job is to drown those toxic narratives out. That is not a viable voice. It is not a valid voice. It is not a voice of reason. It is not a voice that wants to change anything about you. It wants to convince you that you don't have a terrifying longing, that you do. It wants to convince you that you don't have the purpose, that only you have the power to fulfill. The inner critic is on the other side, in advance, looking at all of the obstacles that it knows you're going to face. And it's telling you, buck up, Sherri, get ready for it. This is what's coming. And this is what you have to do. You say you want it? You say you want to get over here? This is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to step up your game. It's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy.